Hey everyone, today I'm super excited to talk about this next product called Meanwhile, and I'm going to be interviewing the CEO, Zach. But before we do that, make sure you're doing research, figure out this project is for you. So Meanwhile is a crypto life insurance company that works closely with Bitcoin, and Zach's going to tell us all about it. So Zach, why don't we start off with who you are, and maybe you could give a brief overview of Meanwhile.
Amazing. Yeah, so I'm Zach Townsend. I'm actually sort of historically a like fintech entrepreneur. I went through Y Combinator in 2013, which is like a long time ago now, and founded a banking as a service company, which I ended up selling to a bank. And that's actually around the time where I like first got introduced to Coinbase, first got introduced to Bitcoin, and really started to just given all the experience I had in like fintech and money stuff, was just interested in it. But that you know I did other things with my life, I guess, like whatever, had kids and had other jobs, and was just sort of like buying Bitcoin along the way. Um, and then in late 2022, my now co-founder and I sat down and we said, hey, we think that there's going to be a long-term Bitcoin economy, a long-term crypto economy, and we sort of conceptualize it as a country, right? Like it may not physically be a country, but there's like Bitcoin land or crypto land or whatever you want to call it, and it's global and it's decentralized, and I think it has some like cultural values like self-sovereignty. And we sat down and said, okay, if we believe that, and if that economy is going to grow, like what are all the like financial institutions that need to exist in that like country? Like what are the financial institutions that most countries have? And we really just got excited about this idea of life insurance. That may sound weird. I guess like most people aren't excited about life insurance.
It's very important. That's the one
It's
thing.
very important. Yeah, exactly. And you mentioned having some kids before we got on. Like I have kids, and I think that element of this is a really like ancient financial service. It's one of the oldest savings products in the world. It's really about like intergenerational wealth transfer and savings and protection. And I also started to notice just like a ton of posts on Reddit about people who were like trying to access their loved ones' keys and stuff, and they couldn't. They like some like Bitcoin's lost forever, and um, yeah, and we sat down and we like made a life insurance company, and that in some ways it's that simple. I mean, there's a lot of complications. Like we are regulated, and like we realized that becoming an actual life insurance company um, was going to be incredibly valuable, and dealing with that slog. So we raised money for the company. We spent 2 years, and we went to Bermuda, which is not the Bahamas, which is where FTX was. We went to Bermuda, which is like the insurance capital of the world, and like we
Let me
built an
let me
insurance
chime
company,
in.
and like
Sorry, I mean don't mean to, but you're just gonna you
yeah,
glance over it. You got funding, and you got a lot of funding, and from very important people. So that's was
yeah,
exciting. And if you want to briefly talk about, I'll say you guys. It
yeah,
seems like you guys got 19 million from
yeah, yeah.
around there.
Ended up being that's what we announced, and then it's a little closer to like 20 and a half now.
Okay, okay, from very important
Yeah,
people. So that's
I
awesome.
mean, look, yeah, so our outside investors like Sam Altman, Gradient, which is Google's AI fund, a lot like Six Man Ventures, Mike Dudas, and Surge, if you know of them. Um, uh, I'm completely, Northwestern
So much
Mutual,
people are interested in
yeah,
what
yeah,
you're doing, and I
yeah.
think that's
I'm like
awesome.
at the beginning,
That's such a good thing, and I think it's an
Mark, which
important
is like a
point.
Bitcoin fund, yeah,
Yeah, it's such an important point, and
uh,
that really shows that what you're doing is super
yeah,
valuable,
yeah,
and you're
yeah.
challenging something that like, oh, life insurance doesn't always have to be one's specific way, you're actually, and you said, oh, this could be a simple way that you did. This like maybe oversimplifying it, but that could be a good thing. It's where maybe something just needs to get solved a
Oh yeah,
simpler
yeah.
way. Like that makes a ton of sense to me.
I completely agree. And actually, sometimes we joke our initial product, which sort of can sound complicated. I mean, I'll explain it, but it's actually like an insurance product from like the 1830s. Like one thing is like insurance can be like super complicated, and there's all these like riders and like this goes up, that'll go down, and like it can be really complicated. And one nice thing about Bitcoin is it gives you an opportunity to like really go to first principles and say like, what is this really for? And in the case of life insurance, it really is for like protecting your family in case you die, but also, as I said, sort of like saving intergenerationally. And one of the nice things is that there is just like real alignment between the idea of hodling or hodling some Bitcoin and life insurance, right? Like
Right.
that's sort of what it's about.
It's all thinking about
Anyway,
the future. Like that's the main thing is not
exactly.
just for yourself, but for exactly like you said, everyone else. Because most likely, are you going to be the one, selling all your Bitcoin and spending it and things like that? No, but potentially your kids could be, or they could use it for something else. And
Yes.
it's a good
Or your
mindset to
kids'
have.
kids or whatever.
Yeah.
And actually, that gets to why we ended up, or how we got so much funding is, our ultimate vision is, a lot of our users are Americans now. That's sort of where we're starting. But at the end of the day, there are just so many people in the world who don't have access to, I guess Bitcoiners would say, like sound money. Um, and what I mean by that is like, actually, a lot of Argentinians are underinsured, or
Mm,
people in Turkey, or people in Nigeria. Because if you're in Argentina, why would you buy life insurance in a currency that you're going to live longer than?
right.
It just doesn't make sense. But actually, even in the United States, if you bought like $1 million in coverage in 2018, you're looking at like 30% depreciation in the purchasing power of that policy through inflation. So I think there's just a real power in having life insurance. On the one hand, having this like core financial service in Bitcoin for Bitcoiners, but also for so many people in the world. If you're going to plan for like 20, 30, 40 years, it can make a lot of sense to have that value in an asset who's appreciating in purchasing power, and also that like is stateless and decentralized. Sorry, by stateless I mean like without a government,
Sure.
not
Fair. Yeah.
technically stateless. Um, anyway, so that's meanwhile, and then what we learned later, which we were not experts in, but has become a big selling point, is basically every society in the world that has taxes um, has incentives for life insurance, and and it makes sense like from a societal perspective, right? Because society would like orphans and widows to like not starve. So there are incentives to get life insurance. But what that means in practice, not just for our users, but the users of all life insurance, is not only is it a protection product and a savings product, but it has tax benefits. Like it's compounding tax free, like a 401k or an IRA. The payout to your children or your wife or your nieces and nephews is income tax free. So and then we went through a lot of not just regulatory stuff in Bermuda, but then like a lot of like tax stuff in the US. So we have all these legal opinions. So like given all the rules about life insurance, like these are in fact life insurance policies. Um,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, and you mentioned the point about making it so that I don't know that maybe like the stat on people in the world, how much percentage of them have life insurance, and I think what you're, I don't know, whatever that stat is, but the idea is that you're allowing it more access to more people, and I think that's uh, you know, as a mindset or a goal, I think is always good to have. So,
Yeah.
um,
Well, and also I think one of the things about it is that's exactly right. And then there's a real reason. Um, it's partially related to like number go up, but it's much more. I think there's a real reason for the product to be in Bitcoin, right? Um, because life insurance is just unusual. It's just not something that
Sure.
you think about a lot. But we try to get our policyholders or potential policyholders, like even if it's just for some of your Bitcoin or some of your savings, to sort of think like not what is the value of Bitcoin going to be tomorrow or next month or next quarter or even next year, because it goes up and down. Like if I knew what the price of Bitcoin was going to do this week, I'd be running a trading shop, I guess. I don't know. But what I do know is I think that Bitcoin over the 10-year, 20-year, 30-year, 40-year span, like think about like sort of between now and when you're going to die. Um, I do think that Bitcoin is going to have a lot more purchasing power over that time. So it is also a way to protect your family, to secure your legacy, to make it easy to access the Bitcoin after you die, but then and to get these tax benefits. Uh, but also, it has this psychological benefit we're realizing of literally getting people to like think about hodling rather than like, oh,
I
it's
see.
wasn't
Right.
70, it's now at
Right.
55.
And I think you said on your website was like you're not looking at the Bitcoin price. You shouldn't have to consider the Bitcoin price what it is today or next week or things like that. It's just really the long term plan. And I think when people think life insurance, yes, they think long term. And obviously, lots of benefits towards obviously working with Bitcoin versus potentially something else. I mean, there's stability there and foundation, which I think is
Yeah.
important. Um, One of my next questions was because we're obviously learning about the project. Where are you guys like on like in terms of like timelines? Like where are you today? Where are you plan to be? I guess a week from now or 5 weeks from
We can
now, and
next.
then like 5 years from now. Like where are you on that cycle? Because a lot of times it's like okay, um, yeah,
Oh, we are alive. Like we have policyholders.
amazing.
You can go to meanwhile.bm or
Okay.
meanwhile.com and it redirects to meanwhile.bm.
Oh, you have
Um,
meanwhile.com. Okay.
yeah, you can buy the
I'm still going to
policy.
.bm. Okay, but that's cool. Yeah.
Well, it redirects. Yeah. I mean, like we're in Bermuda. You're buying it from Bermuda.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a whole that's an important regulatory construct. But yeah, and we have policyholders. I mean,
Awesome.
I guess like people take a time, but we have like dozens of policyholders and users have sent us like hundreds of Bitcoin. Um, so I think we're feeling great about uh, the start. That's basically over this year. We really took like about a year to get licensed, and then that was like 2023, and then it took us no, that was 2022. I've been working on this longer than I remembered. And then 2023 was all about like we had to build all these systems and enterprise risk management and
And I think that's
uh,
an
anyway,
important.
like just running an insurance company, all this stuff. And then this year is the year we like really start getting users, receiving hundreds of Bitcoin from users.
And that's an
Yeah,
important
that's
concept. I mean,
where
that's
we
an
are.
important thing I just want just to reiterate is that you spent the time making sure that everything was in order and everything with like everything was just in order before you started, bring on these users, which makes sense. And
Yeah,
I think that's really important. There's obviously a lot of projects and companies out there that are like, oh, let's just get people to send us their Bitcoin or their money, right? Or Bitcoin as soon as
yeah,
possible, and then we'll figure it out later. It's like you wanted to make sure that everything was right from the get go, and you even if it took you X amount of years, you wanted to make sure that people felt safe and you're being transparent about where you're on the process. So I think that's a super important
yeah.
to point out.
Yeah, and look, some days I'd be lying if I didn't think to myself like, huh, maybe we could have just YOLO'd a life insurance company and like made the math isn't really that all that hard, but that's really a joke because I think
Yeah.
the right way to build this company and the way that we've chosen to build it is like we are asking our users to trust us for a very long time, to honestly to trust us longer than Bitcoin has existed, right? And we're really proud that dozens of people and soon to be hundreds of people have trusted us in that way. But the way that we've earned that trust is by doing things right. and doing things carefully and doing them slowly. And um, yeah, I spend more of my time on like enterprise risk management, and like I'm actually in Bermuda right now. We have a quarterly board meeting, and the board is you know, half independent, so it's like people who don't work for the company, or like audit and insurance experts in Bermuda. And that all took a lot of time. But the point is that we're trying to build an institution that is going to last decades, centuries inside Bitcoin. And that's because we believe that Bitcoin is going to last centuries. And we need institutions that live up to that promise. And yeah, I think there have been some uh, places, institutions that have not tried to live up to that promise. And we are doing something super conservative, and that's what our users expect from this type of company. And yeah, I think we delivered on that.
Cool. Yeah. So, where in terms of like, uh, you answered my first part of a question, but I'm just more. This is more interested in. Feel free to.
Oh,
A lot. This is my part of interview where I always try to get more information. I know you literally said you had a board meeting. Hopefully, they won't get mad about me asking this. But
no,
where
no,
do
no,
you
no, no,
see
no,
in
of
the next
course.
couple of years? Is it like try to get just more
Oh, I
awareness
think the
and bring
next
more
couple of,
users,
yeah,
or
the next couple of years are, our first product is very much built, designed, optimized for Americans,
right?
to
That's yep, yep,
come
yep.
to come and sort of buy the product, and like meets all the nitty tax and regulatory
Yep.
requirements, to really provide that protection in the right way, for Americans. I think what we're going to spend the next years on is, we can Europeans could buy from us, like people from Hong
Got it.
Kong, from Japan, and all of those. There's only like five products in life insurance, but they are like a lot of nuanced, different rules for each of those places. So I think the next product we'll do is what in the U.S. would actually be called an annuity. A ton of people have tweeted at me and asked for this. So it's a real, it's an interesting and exciting thing. Again, if you think that Bitcoin, as we do, is going to just increase in value over time, then then an annuity could make a lot of sense. Whether as just a thing that is really because annuities get some tax privileges, or is because actually think you want income later in life denominated in Bitcoin. So that'll be the next product. But then those, as I said, different jurisdictions have different tax rules, and then sort of like making different flavors of our whole life product and our tax product, our annuity product, for those different tax and regulatory regimes.
Yeah, I mean
So
that.
I don't know how exciting that is for any individual
No,
user,
because
but
well,
like
I think
for,
the
for it like
exciting part
expands
is
the universe.
there's a lot of people. I mean, I'm just stating the obvious that you believe Bitcoin is going to be something that's continuing to be important, continue to grow. There's people that have thought that for the last, I don't know, 10, 15 years. Is Bitcoin 15 years old? But and they've been looking for something like, more things they can do with their Bitcoin that helps, their future, right? I think there's a foundation of people that already hold Bitcoin and hold, a good amount of it, and they're looking for more ways that they could fit it within their life and the future for them and their kids and things like that. So I think you're solving a need and a want from a lot of people, and it seems like you're really taking into account what the community or what people want by building products that and things that and I think that's you're not just building something, hope convincing people, yeah, this is good, you need this, whatever. They know that it is something that they need, and I think that it makes a
Yeah,
ton of
I mean,
sense. Yeah.
I'll be honest. I do feel like I'm. Look, our users are primarily like 35 to 55-year-old men and women who have either a lot of Bitcoin or some Bitcoin and are thinking about the future. Um, I'm not sure that life insurance, on their own, they would think about life insurance, just to be perfectly
Mm-hmm.
honest. But I do think that when they hear about us, I think it is able to touch a nerve that things I've already said, like life insurance is fundamentally a product you're buying for your own legacy, like for your loved ones. And I think for people who, for a wide variety of reasons, have opted to participate in the crypto markets, it's obvious and makes sense. So in that way, I think it is great to have a product that is right there in meeting a need and a desire that people have. But I wouldn't necessarily say that people are clamoring for it. They do have to like be told we exist and that we're
Yeah,
here to
but then
do.
what you said, it's like when it comes across, they learn about it, and then to themselves, like when we make decisions in life, we're always like, oh, this is a pro and con. But if they learn about something, like meanwhile, they're like, oh, this is obvious and this makes sense. Even though I've been thinking about this, like it just makes the decision, like, why didn't I have this before? So I think like things
Exactly,
like
exactly.
that, it's like,
That's a better way to put it. Is
yeah,
when we talk to users, they're like, "This is obvious,"
yeah.
and
I just
I'm
took the
so
words
glad you
out of your
brought it.
mouth. You
Yeah,
said it, but
yeah, yeah,
yes,
yeah.
that's what I'm
Exactly,
like. It's
exactly.
good because then like they're 35, 40, you're probably not thinking about that, but then they should. Maybe they're not in the life phase yet where they should be thinking about that, but you know, someone as who's getting in the later life stages, myself, it's like those are the things that
Yeah.
I'm glad that I thought about some of that stuff early on, or like I'm in that phase now. So yeah, cool.
Well,
Um,
Brent, we would be happy to see you as
I
a
already
policy holder.
started registering and things like that. So yeah, no worries. So definitely we
There
have
you
to
go.
have a conversation after. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know you're very busy. I know you. I don't even know. I couldn't even guess what time it is in Bermuda. So, but will you let me know and the community know and my channel know what they can do today to either learn more, join the community? I think your X account is actually a really good place to like learn about the latest stuff's going on. I actually went through, I think all of your tweets like went past to just kind of because you're
Yeah, yeah.
talking about the importance of that. But if there's anything else, I'll obviously put the links in the description. But if there's anything else that you wanted the community to know or what they can do today to kind
Yeah.
of dig
I
deeper.
think the only thing I'll add to our Twitter is I think at Meanwhile Life and meanwhile.bm um, is I think people just always have questions and
Question, yeah.
instead of writing like 5,000 word essays on our website, which no one will read. Like currently, every single person who applies on our website, we reach out to and we schedule time with, because I think it is it's a big decision, and it can be scary. Look, I don't think there's necessarily been the best history of sending your Bitcoin to other people, right? So I we really want people to get to know us, to make an individual decision, to trust us. And so that's all I would add is like if you go to the website and you create an account and you answer some basic demographic, like what's your name and what's your address and things, then you can continue in the process. But me or my colleague Danny, we reach out to every single person and offer to jump on the phone. So that is if you're genuinely interested, I don't want to get bombarded, I guess, if you're not interested, but if you're genuinely interested, you should just go to the website and start the process, and then we'll find time to talk about it.
Yeah, and I think that's important that you're spending the time. Well, first of all, I think the obviously talking to you for this last bit definitely have gained my trust and things like that. But I think the way you present it and you explain, meanwhile, in general, about how you've gone through, you've thought about it, you've done everything correct, and then you're not only like, yeah, send the Bitcoin now. It's like, hey, we want to have this conversation with you, and even if it's like, maybe this not but mean may not be ideal for you now or it's capable to do now, it could be something that you could work with them in the future, right? So it's like having the conversation, and then when it's the right time, whether it's now or later on in life, or maybe they know someone else, it's like you're making that connection and offering, what Meanwhile, everything that Meanwhile does. So I think that's, like I said, important.
Perfect.
Cool.
Well, thanks so much, Brent. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me today. I'll put the links in the description. Definitely will make sure that my community follows and things like that and stays up to date. And we'll definitely have to catch up on some updates on everything going on meanwhile in the future. But thanks for your time, Zach. I
Perfect.
appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.
See you guys.